Tune in to the Culture Conversation. We got coming up my boy Jay Norm.
I'm the co-founder of Verse and Hook and the global head of music marketing at Spotify. Happy to be here. Let's talk.
Let's get it poppin'. Welcome to the Culture Conversation. I'm your host, Anthony Thompson II. Today we have a real cool guest, my guy Jay Norm. He's been working in the industry for a while, and he is like a staple in Detroit. You know, when we got these Detroit players in the building, we really got to like give knowledge to our people all over the world. You know how we do, man.
No, I feel it.
Man,
Thank you
welcome,
for having me,
bro.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to get you on here because we talked about this a while ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just getting going. This is season 1.
Word.
So
Okay.
the Culture Conversation is here, and we're going to just like work on pushing this thing forward, man.
I got you.
We didn't have this when we was coming up in the game.
No, like nobody really talked about this kind of stuff. It was in the back rooms at studios.
Facts.
A bunch of arguments about how to make it, what we're gonna do.
Yep.
And especially in Detroit, a lot of it, if you didn't go and learn from somebody who was doing it already, it was just trial and error.
And I did. I was blessed to learn from somebody. Yeah. See, R.J. Rice taught us the game on the business side, and then Jay Dillis taught us on the boards.
No, that's real.
Yeah.
I had a lot of folks that brought me into the business. People who are still doing it. Like shout out to all the guys that live, Ben and Fletch and all of those guys.
I know them dudes.
Yeah, you know.
Tell
like,
Ben I said what up.
Oh, that's my dude. I will. And so a lot of the business was really us as young kids trying to figure it out and like working with every label head on earth trying to get as much knowledge on where to move as possible. And then I just kind of jumped into the business side because that was the other side of my background.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had started graphic design businesses and helped start up companies and all these things as a young teenager. And so when the time came and I feel like I knew enough about the music business and entertainment to add some extra value to it, I was like, well, let me try my hand at that, because trying to sling beats in Atlanta wasn't paying the bills at the time.
You know I know about that.
Yeah.
It's funny because I recently was talking to my boy Young RJ, and we was talking about when we was getting started, and I was saying like it was crazy. We was in the studio all day and night, and then I started watching, being there all during the day, and then RJ started letting me sit in on meetings of deals closing, and then I was like, man, I'm looking at everything like, okay, we touring, we doing this, we doing that, and I'm like, but I'm looking at Pops like, damn, RJ got the mansion. RJ got the Benzes and all. I was like, I need to, let me follow what you doing.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, the more you travel and the more you see what an example of success looks like, the more your mindset shifts a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, and it's the same thing with creativity. I remember being very self-conscious. And Ben is funny. You talk about Ben, he'll attest to this. Being self-conscious, being in studios with guys like Flip and all these other like producers who are under these huge production houses, you know, some of the biggest names in music, and they'll sit down at a keyboard and just play something. Yep. And it sounds like a hit record already. You'll be in the studio and you go through Zach's recording in Atlanta and DJ Mustard is downstairs and you can hear the next record coming out. And I'm this young dude trying to figure it out. And you can get full of doubt that way if you're not pulling the right lesson from that. And it's the same in business. I feel like sometimes you could either get encouraged looking at that success, or you get discouraged from like, I ain't got what that man got. And I think the lesson I had to learn really fast is that you can't count another man's pockets like that. Their journey is not going to be your journey.
And also with that too, I'll say you can't count another man's pockets, but I always looked at it as what God has for me is for me.
That's real.
And every journey is going to be different. So I don't want to go see, like I see your success, Jay. That ain't for me because it might kill me to go through what you went through to get there.
That's fair.
Which, you understand what I'm saying? I might not have made it if I went through your story.
That's real.
But through my story, that's how God set
you got
the
where
road
you got.
up for me.
Yeah. I feel like, and I wonder how you feel about this. I feel like in some ways, the journeys being unique is kind of a part of the process. I think at the end of the day, if we all followed a standard blueprint of how to do something, there would be no new learnings.
Facts.
You know, either you have the opportunity, and I think we see that a lot in corporate America, where some different types of folks get in the rooms certain types of ways.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a large amount of nepotism in corporate America, where you go to this college, you shake these hands, you go to these things, and through a series of events, you end up in a certain position. And I'll be honest, man, growing up in Detroit, being black, in the situations that I've been, I grew up on 7 Mile, it wasn't no guy at the end of the road being like,
that's my grandparents' area. 7 Mile, Illinois, West Side.
Yeah.
I'm a Joy Road boy, exit 9.
Got you. That's more where my wife and my homies grew up. But I was West Side, and you know,
love the West Side.
It's funny, man. It's like we used to make the joke. It's like we just a bunch of little black boys from the West Side of Detroit who just did something different. And there's a lot of them. You know, there's a lot of people from the East to West who have found a way in. The tough part about that, when we talk about examples, is how do you present that story in a way that doesn't feel exclusionary?
But you talked about nepotism. It's funny. I want to give you another perspective. Tell me what you think. I had this argument with my dad when I was in college. When I was at Michigan State University, him and his partners created UVille Detroit. And they was gonna do a whole, like, another boys club, the gym, some YMCA type stuff. And I said, no, y'all need to add studio technology, TV, all that. And I wrote the programs, and that's how we end up having that stuff there. And then while I was in college, I used to come down, and also through University of Michigan, I finagled my way. I was able to run the programs through a friend of mine that was with University of Michigan programs.
Gotcha.
So he wouldn't let me. He was all like, "Oh, you my son, so I can't have you come be a part of it, you know, because you my son." Conflict of interest. Yeah. But I still found my way to do it through the way. But other people I knew that were white guys, their family put them on and put them in the game, and that's one thing that irritates me about. Even my father, he did, God rest your soul, did, but that's where we bumped heads, because I'd be like, no, we supposed to help you build each other up, and I should just be able to step on your shoulders instead of having to get it. What's the purpose of me getting it from ground zero? You know, I had to do it from the dirt, and it made no sense. Why did I have to start from ground zero? I don't want my kids to start from ground zero. Yeah. I want them to work hard, and they have a work ethic, but I want to be able to open doors for them.
It's tough, man. Like I talk about this a decent amount in my household, and the idea of how much help is help and how much help hurts. You know what I mean? Like we are two gentlemen in a space where our kids will have a certain amount of money in their lives, and will go to certain kinds of schools and all these different things. That's going to set them up with a network of people that are very different than the network we grew up with.
Even now.
Right.
Like,
very different, right?
When I dropped my son, his little league team, his teammates, and the kids he go to school with, like, it's totally different.
It's different, right? And so I don't have kids yet, but it's something I think about a lot. Because my parents had to work hard just to put me in a private school where I wasn't going to public school the whole time. And I learned all these things. But that's a different network than Country Day or Cranbrook or something like that, where these are the kids of estates, you know what I'm saying? And I wonder how much of the hustle mentality that grew our skill sets get lost in that transition. I don't know.
I think it is also, because I'm going to go off of my kids. When they see how you work and hustle, my kids see me and my wife work very hard. And they saw their grandparents work hard. So, like, my sons, like my oldest, Trey, he's Anthony the third. I don't have to tell him to do a workout. He worked hard already for football. And he top player on the team. He got all A's and B's and stuff. He know what my expectation is. So he can do certain things. And then he got a setup in his room. He's already producing, making tracks and doing this thing. And I don't tell him to do anything. He get on Amazon, he order himself. You know, my kids are young and they got Cash App and they buy stocks already. I had no clue of that. And they be like, my kids sit at the table and they talk about stocks they bought. And these kids are 10 years old and stuff. That blows my mind.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I didn't even know what stock was until college.
But that's part of that network that we're talking about. They're in schools and situations where they learn different things.
Yeah.
And so it's my hope that it's not a factor for me at that point, where it's just like I can see the same things you're seeing. On the other side of it, I also know that there's value in struggle sometimes. And
I agree with that.
And I don't want to create that as artifice. I don't want that to be like, oh, I'm putting you in stressful situations so you can learn the ropes.
But I think it's a balance. Like the thing I do is my boys, I got pictures of them since they were real young. They go and we do like feeding programs, or like, you know, cars pull up and I got them putting foods in the back of the trucks, moving the potatoes, like hard work, and they know about the give back system too. So I think if you put them in position and you drill it into them, but they still gonna make their own decisions.
That's part of the process.
Because one thing I tell my kids is, I'm here to guide you. You know, you have to determine how your life is gonna be. I'm here to guide you only, and then you determine how your life is gonna be.
No, I hear that.
I know that's hard as a parent, but real talk, you can't control them. When they get 18, 19, it's about what you instilled in them, and then they got to make these decisions, but you can help guide them, but they ultimately make that decision.
It's just that balance is one I have to think about a lot. And, you know, I think going back to the industry conversation, I think just the balance in general tends to be something that's just hard to maintain. In general, you know what I mean? Like as we were walking in, we were talking about, it's like, man, you seem tired, and my phone never off, and all this kind of stuff. And in thinking about kids and thinking about life and success and all these things, I want to make sure that I have time for that stuff to be instilled and for those things to kind of grow, because it's a lot of work that goes into maintaining this kind of thing. You know, because
I'm off balance. I'm gonna be honest with you.
It's tough.
I'm off balance with my health, sleep, you know, and being able to even exercise properly. You know, so it's like that's something I did put as a goal to really start taking better care of myself. Because I run and make sure everybody in my family good. But then God was telling me, he's like, how good are you gonna be if you ain't here no more for him?
Bro, like it's a real thing.
And he said it to me multiple times, and now I'm just starting to like, okay, I gotta do it.
Because the life is fast too. You know what I'm saying? There's music industry stuff, man. It's like it's a lot of alcohol, it's a lot of flights, it's a lot of this, it's a lot of that. And I just got back to going to the gym 2 to 3 times a week. I want to get back to that 4 or 5 times a week. At my peak.
I'm at 2.
You know what I'm saying? It's like
3 is a good week.
I try to get 3. I try to get 3, but it's tough. And so, you know, all of that in a life that I feel like is true success is really about trying to balance all of those factors. Because we could talk about upbringing and work all day, which I think we should, but the end result tends to be glamorized in a way that I don't think's real sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, you success, you got this going on, this going on. It's like, bro, this junk is stress. it's so much.
And keeping that little lady happy too.
It's stress, man, because that's part of the balance. You can't be on your computer or on the phone or flying all the time. You also have to be present in your household. You have to spend time. You have to make arrangements.
And they sure don't give you that when you get into this industry. They don't tell you how to do that.
No, but
everybody's off balance.
But neither do your mentors.
And
that's the thing that kind of drives me crazy because I'm transitioning into that mentor phase now. You know what I mean? I'm still a very young man in the game, but there's that hump in the middle where people start to look at you and it's like, hey, how are you doing this? How did you make it here?
We at the same point, because I'm getting there, because I got a few interns now. You know, one is in college, and then, they all in college, but one of them, I had one intern directing the other interns. And it's like, I'm at that phase, so they looking up to what we doing. You know.
And what you have to say feels, and I shudder to even say this, and sometimes it feels like I'm out of my own body. Like I'm saying stuff that I should be saying to me too, you know. And after I had those conversations with folks, I sit down and go, like, man, what the hell did I just like? I should do I should do that stuff too. I'm giving this advice. I need to take my own advice,
especially on that stage. Because you get in a rhythm. You get it going. You be like, this sounds great. I need to try this again. Or I used to do this, and I don't do it anymore.
What do you feel like is the state of things in your career? Where do you want to end up? I think about that a lot too.
My career-wise, it used to be, and it's not this anymore. Then I'm gonna tell you what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
My goal used to be to build this company, build AT Network production company and studio,
Mm-hmm.
and had a film department, the music department, the TV department, all the merch department, all of them really going to where I can leave it to my children, and then they take it over. But one thing I learned in my studies, and God showed me, was this might not be my kid's dream or they end all. So now, for me, it's about moving in the direction of just walking in my purpose. So now it's like I have dreams and aspirations, and that's still my dream. But my purpose took off with AT Network was Entertainment University, and that's training these kids. We train over like 325 kids per week, and we're teaching them music, film, TV, fashion, the business and production side. So it's like I feel like my dream and my purpose is connected, and it's not just about what I want anymore. It's where I feel God's leading me to.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good place to be. And I think I'm getting close.
I had to be okay with I might die. My kids just sell the company the next day.
That's real.
And I gotta be okay. That's fine. I lived out my purpose. That ain't theirs, and they take the money and do what they do with it. So that's why I look at finances and stuff different too now. Me and mommy gonna blow a bag. We gonna have some fun before we up out of here, and y'all can keep all the assets. But we gonna have a little cash and have a little fun with some of the cash. But y'all can have all the houses and the building and all that. But that cash, me and mommy gonna have some fun.
No, I dig it. I'm looking forward to the day where I may have a family like that, and I'm also like scared of that. You know what I mean?
It's never a perfect time, bro.
No, I know, and we talk about it, but that's a lot.
It changes everything.
I figure.
Everything.
Yeah, I figure.
Everything.
You know, because I look at my career and where I am now, and I'm in that build phase.
Talk about your career. I want to hear about your career.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody wants to hear about your career. Let's talk about it.
No, I mean, so for those who may have missed the intro and everything, right now I kind of do two things majorly. I have a brand consultancy called Versa Hook that started off as a music company and a since licensing company. Eventually, clients came to know us as being able to do more, and we started to expand that repertoire. So now we kind of touch a little bit of everything in that production process and help clients really think about their audiences more broadly, especially when you talk about niche communities and cultures. You have to think about that more broadly. On the opposite end of my career and kind of the main job, I'm the global head of music marketing at Spotify. And that
congratulations, black man.
thank you. That job is a big job. And at a music-based tech company, I'm essentially responsible for all of the outbound communications concerning brand new releases of music, our music programs and playlists, and how those things are related to the consumer. And there's a lot of different moving parts and shareholders and stakeholders involved.
Is it separate, or do you also handle the audio like podcast as well, or is that totally separate?
Podcast team is a completely separate team. Yeah, I'm on the music side of the business. Yep. Yeah. And so, you know, there's a lot to consider on how the artist feels about these things. We have to talk a lot to their teams and figuring that stuff out. There's also our editorial staff who is responsible for kind of the look and feel of the playlist and how they work. And then there's the community, the people who are listening to this music, and we have to make sure that what we're bringing to them feels like real value.
When you get a chance, go back to how the artists get on playlists, because that's important.
That's a complicated
I know. Thing. And people ask me all the time. That's why I say I would love you to go back and do a rundown.
I honestly can't even talk about it. Because there's a lot of different ways you get on a playlist.
I know about some. That's why I asked you to say.
Yeah. And there are a lot of different tiers of playlists. I will say this, like, a lot of people bucket Spotify-related content into one thing. And there's a lot of different things. There's the main playlist brands like Rap Caviar and Viva Latino. There are other brands that are there that are much lower in terms of like notoriety in that, but have similar impact with consumers, like your Pollen or stuff like that. And then there's kind of like semi-algo stuff that gets fed to people through the program. And there's even things that are based solely on your listening. Like we just launched a product called Daylist. That's kind of a playlist that edits itself during the day based upon your previous listening. So there's a lot of ways to get served music on Spotify.
And then also, when you set up the app, when you come on Spotify, and when you are asking them the preferences, that helps them connect to a certain playlist.
There's a lot of different things in the program. Most of it is based upon what you do, what you interact with, what you listen to, and then some of it is based upon the industry and what we think you should hear, the editorial staff thinks you should hear. And so there's a lot of different ways to get music within Spotify. So I don't like to go into the specifics there.
I want to go back to, I thought it was interesting when you talked about your business, because a lot of people don't do that.
Or like just like do like what I do, or like have another business?
No, what your business does. Your business does. Like, talk about that a little bit, because I thought it was interesting. You went over it quick.
Yeah.
But like, break that down exactly what your company does and how it helps the industry.
So it's interesting. There's a few parts to it. I think the first and most prevalent part for me as a music producer and a songwriter was that we try to create culture-first programs that allow artists to connect to brands in both organic and paid ways. And so we've placed musicians in branded commercials and content. We've licensed their music for branded commercials and content. We've created concepts around artists for brands and for content. And so that's kind of the first aspect of it. A level above that is strategically aligning that work with the audiences that the brands are trying to serve, which is a more complicated conversation. We're kind of the ghostwriters of that story for a lot of major brands. And it's been an interesting journey to get to that space, because if a large consumer packaged goods company wants to reach a multi-generational audience between older and younger black folk, and it's like, hey, we've got this big program that we want to do. We want to bring this to 4 cities, but our main agency is doing a lot of stuff, and they don't really know these markets. You know, what would you do in these places?
You're creating a pitch deck.
We're creating pitches. We're creating full-on programs. We're rolling out what that would cost, what artists to connect to, what feels more authentic for that city, for that audience. How would you convert the audience's attention to an actual action?
So you work on both sides. Got it.
And so that process is really like making sure that the artists get their biggest value. So we're an advocate for the artists that we're working with, because in a lot of situations they get lowballed, or they don't get paid at all. Oh, come be a part of this thing, get paid in exposure. It's like, no, we're gonna pay you for your work, you're gonna be a part of this thing, and you'll get exposure, you get an opportunity to be a part of something bigger. And then hopefully this will spur more stuff for you. On the brand side, we want to go beyond just the artist, and we want to talk to the community behind that artist, because all these folks have fans. They have co-branded alignments with other artists within that space. And so, yeah, VersaHook kind of has morphed into this group of like-minded thinkers who are trying to really build a bridge between kind of these localized communities and the artists that serve those communities, and brands who want to connect to those people in a really organic and authentic way.
Man.
There's a lot. I do a lot.
No, I know. I know what you do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man, because of the opportunity. Because like when we was in college and when we was coming up grinding young, because I started the game at 12. I was lucky to have a
14.
friend. I was lucky to have a friend who daddy had a studio.
Right.
So that's how I got going. And it's like now I laugh at certain things, because it's like I would be beating these walls down to get into the studio. And these kids ain't even beating the walls down like they used to.
Well, because they got a laptop at home and they can do it at the crib.
But it's still a difference.
It is.
It's still I still push internships. I push it heavy.
You know what's wild? I don't know if I push for any of it anymore, because I've seen it work in so many ways. You know what I mean? My wife's a big proponent of education, and I'm less so. Not saying that college and things like that don't have their place, because they do.
To me, it depends on the person.
Yeah, for sure, and it depends on how you want to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the education comes from that realization. It's like, which path do you want to take to this? There's a bunch of ways to do it. I think on the other side of that, there's a baseline that you have to be able to establish. And so you can't go from zero and say, I'm going to be the most famous person in the world. That usually is not how that works. But if you're not going to go through the traditional routes to do these things that we talked about before, either the nepotism route or being overly qualified, and that takes a lot of work, then you've got to be prepared to put a lot on the line to do these things. Because at the end of the day, a lot of it still, there are gatekeepers in all of these places. In every single thing, there's somebody who's standing there going, hey, you need ID to get ID. Where is it? And part of what me and my partner set out to do with Verse and Hook, and even some of the things I do in my job, is to try to remove as many of those barriers to entry as possible. If you want to come in and do something special, there's got to be a program available for that to work out. If you didn't go to school, if you didn't finish these things out, but you're talented and you've worked at it, I can figure out an opportunity. If you don't have a major record deal, but you've got this incredible artistry that you've been working on, I can find a way to get you paid or probably make a living off of this. And those are the things that there needs to be more of, and it can't be philanthropic. It can't be like a brand or a company coming through and it's like, I've got a this or that for a limited time. It's like, this has to be a part of your business strategy. And that's the part that I want to try to implement more often into things. It's like, no, it's not philanthropic. You're not helping a community. You're building a business case for some
how do
a
you
lot
get
of things.
major corporations and certain labels not to hate you?
Well, because I'm not.
I'm talking trash with this.
I hear you. I'm not adversarial in that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So when I say that, it's like, we have programs with Spotify. I've been a part of programs with big brands. Those things exist. I'm not saying brands don't do it. And so if I'm not on a soapbox being like, you guys suck, that's how you create enemies.
Yeah.
I'm walking into the room and say, I see what you do. Here's how you can improve. This is how you can make this a bigger part of your business at the end of the day, where it's not just a line item in your tax write-offs, but could be an incremental revenue gainer for you, and can maybe take a bigger part in your overall marketing program. Because marketing as a line item, 9 times out of 10 is a completely throwaway line. It does not directly affect your bottom line. It's an expenditure that you must do to stay top of mind with your consumers. If that's the case, why not market and bring benefit to your overall consumer class? Like, why not also add value? And I think a lot of people are moving past blanketed content, and it's like, well, how can we do content with a purpose? How can we be a purpose-driven brand? And the more purpose-driven your brand is, the easier it is to align to those consumers in a way that doesn't feel so contrived. It's like, I'm going to make an ad and throw it in your face and worry about how often I can convert at the end of the day. It's like, no, like, let's do something that matters to you, that brings value to you.
Do you feel like Instagram is fading a little bit, or what's your thoughts on that? Because I have a lot of, we both know a lot of marketing people.
Yeah.
And they have to work with influencers. And a lot of them hate working with influencers.
Well, yeah.
But do you feel like, because I know about the tracking system and knowing their actual reach. So, how do you think it's faring out? Because Twitter pretty much went down. How do you think Instagram is that going to fade away, or do you know what's next?
I don't think it'll fade away. What I think is happening in the social sphere is that the attention that millennials put towards new technologies like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter in the past has become a mainstay in the mindset of our people.
Like, Facebook's still strong. That's what's crazy.
Well, but it's different.
Yeah.
The engagement in Facebook is completely different. And a lot of these companies are trying to figure out what's the next new way to engage. I think it's less about format and less about app and more about like how the consumer interacts with the content in general. I think people keep going after this very short form media thing. The influencers pretty much live off of that because it's hard to do something like this and have a studio and create long form content. There's very few people who successfully can build a business doing that because it's expensive.
It's expensive and it takes time.
Yeah, and so, you know, to take your phone out and do something that after edit is less than a minute long is more feasible for solo creators, but it's now at a point of saturation where everybody is doing that.
Yeah.
And eventually, like with anything else, the general pop gets kind of sick of it. Mm-hmm. We've seen TikTok in different versions,
different phases
over the last decade. Yeah. Your Vines, your Trillers, like it's a million versions of it. Snapchat was essentially that at the beginning. Yeah. You know, and so like and they all kind of exist in different ways. Mm-hmm. But my guesstimation, based upon my experience and the things I'm seeing, is that apps like Instagram and X/Twitter and Facebook will continue to exist because their audience continues to spend money. We still exist, the millennials and things, and Gen Z and Gen Alpha are beginning to transition to faster, quicker, and longer forms of media. It's like there's a gap in the middle. It's either super fast or super long. And there will be new titans in the space who do that better than what's there. I don't know who's gonna do it better than YouTube, but eventually
YouTube. Boy.
I mean, YouTube
pay though.
Yeah, and YouTube's the place where long form content lives.
And Spotify pay good. I looked at their rates. Spotify and YouTube pay the best, low key.
And what's funny about that is we have a really bad rap for not paying very well.
Look at the real numbers. All people don't do research; they just be talking.
Arguments for another day.
Even YouTube Shorts pay better than most of these other platforms.
But that's the thing, like it's a scale issue. Yeah. You know, if you're one of the most famous people on these platforms, you get paid very well. Yeah. If you're not, you looking at your checks like, what's going on? Yeah. There's a progressive gap that I think the general streaming industry needs to figure out. Mm-hmm. Because it's a profit share model at the end of the day.
If you can speak on it, what you think about the strike?
Which one?
The one dealing with the writers, the actors.
Oh, I mean, they should get paid more. Yeah. You know, and honestly, like, it's not even necessarily a factor of more. The landscape changed quite a bit.
They should share the information to see how much they should get paid.
Well, I think they were paid originally based upon a set of standards for how someone got paid that changed when the industry moved towards digital assets. Yep. And once that happened, the rules didn't change, but the medium changed. They said, well, hey, we need to come back to the table because the medium changed.
But they still paying them old rates.
They're paying the old rates. Yeah. And so they finally got to a level of an agreement, but it took a long time because frankly, over the time period where that was happening, studios were making money hand over fist. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, we don't have to have a certain amount of writers in the room. We don't have to have these certain rules involved. And I'm not an expert on that part of the business.
And they felt like certain data they didn't have to share.
Yeah, because it wasn't for them to know. Yeah. But now it is. It's affecting their paychecks. Their take homes are getting smaller and smaller every day. And a lot of other unions stood up and said, hey, they're right. And they came together, and that's the reason why they were able to come to some level of an agreement. But I think that goes to show how disruptive like some of these changes to the way we consume content has been. And I think as people who are working with these larger entertainment companies, but who are also advocates for young creators and new entrepreneurs, we've got to find ways to both be evangelists of this new technological world, because that's how we found our success, but also responsibly represent what these new things mean for people.
And it's like every industry goes through it. Look at the auto industry. They go through it. It's not just us in entertainment. And then the medical field, they got slapped. Oh, and people don't even talk about it really like that. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, even here in Detroit, man, like casino workers are on strike. Yes. You know, like the world goes through these cycles of things where folks have to come back to the table and talk about how these changes are affecting their lives. And every sector of regulated pay will end up being in a space where they'll have to speak more on what it is they want. And every space can't really unionize as easily as some of these others.
And you can't take everything overseas.
No.
As a corporation.
No.
You can't.
So there's a limit to like how many efficiencies you can do as a corporation before you get backlash for things. And I think that's what we saw with the movie and film industry, where it's like, hey guys, you've been maximizing your profits.
Yes.
And like we see it. We've seen the choices you've made. We've seen you go from everyone's licensing to Netflix and Hulu to now you all are launching your own proprietary apps. You know, whereas like there's a Paramount Plus and there's a Disney Plus.
I mean, I saw the numbers on even what they make. They make way more money even off merch. Yeah. The numbers is ridiculous. Yeah. They're making a lot of money.
Well, and that's the tough part. You know, I mean, we live in a capitalist society where we've got to acknowledge that there are people who are doing better than other people. And just as a personal note, like I can understand a lot of the frustration in that, because any economic person that you would talk to, any economist would tell you that the gap between the haves and the have-nots and the in-between is just getting
and they're trying to widen it out more and
much
more.
wider.
Yep. They make more money too.
Yeah,
that way.
I mean, admittedly, because I'm not fake. Like this is the kind of market where people in my position do much better.
Do better. Yeah.
You know, and I'm not ignorant to the fact that that's the case. And so for me, being responsible for trying to bring as many folks into a space where they can find a similar level of success, or in trying to eliminate the barriers that continue to widen the gap is a point of passion for me. How successful I can be at that also depends on how the market reacts to some of the changes. And I think that's part of the business thing that we're seeing. It's like there's still a baseline that has to be maintained. The writers need to make at least enough to live to start, and then you can start talking about how to make things better.
After taxes.
Yeah. How do you
that's
make
another
it better?
thing people don't got to understand is one thing too that hasn't been taught in our community and in entertainment when we came in is how to maneuver, you know, with your finances and dealing with taxes on it. Because I didn't learn. I mean, I didn't get a CPA until I was like well into the game. I didn't know about how to get these certain write-offs when I switched tax brackets and all that. They were killing me forever.
There's one of the reasons why.
Forever.
It's one of the reasons why I said in the beginning that like I'm not the biggest fan of education. It's not because there's not value in getting educated. It's because our system of education doesn't really teach you what you need to know. You know, it's like the reality is, and I read this in a book once, that a lot of people believe that the education system as it exists to teach people how to work for other people. It's a school of how to be a great employee. You know,
employee.
What I mean? Yeah, employee.
Yeah.
And the more you look at it and what you study, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, they train you from kindergarten, walking the right side of the line.
Yeah.
Even when you're driving, everything is a system.
Yeah.
So they teach you how to work within their systems.
Well, within systems. And like, to take the conspiracy theory out of it, the reality is if you look at the curriculum and you think about what you would need to not only be an entrepreneur, but just to be a fully fiscally literate human being within a capitalistic society, none of that is taught in grade or primary school at all.
They're not going to teach you how to beat them. That's just real talk.
That's just so frustrating.
I know, but they're not going to teach you. They're not going to give you the playbook.
Yeah,
it's
just like you couldn't teach me. You have a math class every year.
Yeah.
Every year from grade kindergarten.
I should learn how to balance a checkbook. Something basic in the household. How to purchase groceries and do the math.
How to make a budget.
Yeah, how to make a budget.
What percentage of your income should be?
But they thrive on that. The thrive is for you to stay in debt. The thrive is for you to depend on this job.
It's super insane.
For you to work until you're 70 years old.
Yeah, it's super insane that there isn't a single resource within our education system that just like teaches you how credit works.
Yeah.
How does a bank actually work? How does a bank make money?
And you know what's funny though? You said about education. I learned about credit, all this stuff in college.
Right.
That's what I learned about it.
But you have to afford college.
Yeah.
And so there's a gap right there,
Yeah.
right? It's like, yeah, high school is off all the free stuff. Yeah, learn how to work, learn how to study, learn how to fall in line, learn how to be in the system. And if you can afford to pay more money to get useful knowledge and to choose what you want to learn, then you have to pay 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, like upwards of however many thousands of dollars.
And it's still a system that you're going to operate in.
So
I get it. We'll be talking forever
yeah,
about that.
Yeah. So that's the part that kind of burns me, man. Like I want to be in a place where I can provide mentorship and be a responsible human in this world, and at the same time, I have my cynicism on how things work, but you have to also live your life too. And so, you know, I feel like a life where you are as useful as you talked a lot about purpose. It's like my superpower is this. Like I want to be able to one-on-one go into rooms and consult you on how you can become whatever you want to become. That's my passion in life. Like I'm not a guy who's going to be a keynote speaker on the stage and do the
You don't know that, but I hear you.
But I don't want to.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's not what I want to do. I would rather me, you, and your partner, or 2 or 3 of your people sit down and go, okay, this is what I know. This is how I can be of use to you, because a life most useful is a life best lived to me, and I just want to be as useful as I can to as many people as I can be. And sometimes that's just pulling yourself out of the rat race that we find ourselves in. Sometimes being part of this corporate thing, and just trying to slow it down a little bit. Because my career has just been nothing but like forward motion this whole time. Now I just want to pull it back and be like, what am I really meant to do?
A lot of guys have died to be in your position.
And I'm gonna teach them how to get it.
Yeah.
Come take it. You know what I mean? Like for real. It's like there's more to it.
Yeah.
You know, and my position is cool. It's a great title. And it's a great job, and I love Spotify. It's a great place to work. Also, there's board seats. There's corporate organizations that move the needle beyond where I sit, and I'm looking at them too. And so yes, let's climb this ladder together. You want to come up from behind me? Great. Here's what you need. Here's what I didn't do great. You know what I mean? Like where you could do better. And I want to see the man above me. And this is the part that we're talking about that pull up the ladder joint that a lot of our folks don't do.
You know
what I'm saying? It's like, no, it's like, who's the man above me who's going to go, hey, I saw what you did over there. Let's do it over here too.
There's enough room for all of us, period. It's endless. So I'm definitely going to pull on you for knowledge and glean from you. So I appreciate your time today. Fellow Detroit player, I got to hear from you and ask you these couple questions real quick.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite old school musical talent?
What's old school to you?
The Diana Ross era.
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder. Thank you.
Easy. Yeah.
Okay. And then, if you can say, because I know about politics, young guy, young artist, Detroit. Who you rocking with right now? If you can say, I know how that go. If people ask me, I'll be like, I work for Lion Nation. I can't say. You can opt out.
I touch a lot of those. I'll say this. So it was kind of a cop-out answer, but I'll say this. I'm excited for Detroit's hip-hop scene to continue to take a larger hold in the country. I love what I'm seeing from Skilla, from Sada, from Cash, from Vez. Like they're setting a standard payroll. Like these guys have been doing this for a while. And they're setting a standard of what that sound, Babyface Ray, what that sound is going to do for other people. I'm also excited for there to be another side of that sound. And so I want that to continue and for them to continue to foothold on that sound of music.
And then see some growth. And
I need to see that translate to what I've seen happen in Oakland, in LA, in California, what I saw happen coming from the South. you know, there's that needs to translate to more R&B artists. That needs to translate to give me a couple conscious rappers and let them make it too, because Kendrick's not the full Compton sound. You know what I mean? It's like he's more on the conscious side of that coin, and he's created success that way. And so like I love those artists. I want to see them win. I want to be a part of that journey. I also want to see the city of Detroit return as a cultural music powerhouse as it was before, to where the diversity continues to go.
And we're expanding into film. Like, I see so many movies from Detroit going crazy.
Yeah, we need that tax credit back. I mean,
once that come back,
list.
I think it's gonna be something else.
Yeah.
But you know, we're gonna talk Detroit today because we're from Detroit. But nationally, artists, like, who are you seeing or hearing right now nationally?
From here?
No, period.
Oh, period?
Yeah.
I mean, R&B space, Victoria Monet's got a chokehold on the game right now. It really, her album, I think, was one of the first returns to kind of that classic nostalgia in the music. And even you see the videos that she's doing, she's paying homage to like the Sierras and things of the world. Like, she's done a good job at keeping it current, but also making it feel like her, which I appreciate. I think I'm excited about I'm a Piano and Afro beats becoming a bigger mainstay.
Afro beats going crazy.
Yeah, but I also want all of the music of the diaspora to really be able to get a foothold here. I'm excited for Tim's to come out. I'm excited to see if Tyler can keep making the music she's making. I think the women from Africa are having a moment. And I really hope it continues to go, because I think that's the future of the sound. When I think...
And when you're speaking of the women from Africa, she's family to me, Mo. She's killing it. She's been in the studio.
Oh, word.
And worked.
Yeah.
We have her in Detroit, and she's killing the game, man. When you hear... People gonna catch on to her probably the next 2-3, because she over in China and all that doing her thing. But from Africa, but when she hit here on a major scale, because New York is working with her a lot right now. Okay. It's gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
She got a big sound.
It just need the opportunity for it to land. So those are two I'm really excited about. Where I think there's a real opportunity for people here in the United States to really learn something new about the music.
Oh yeah. Well, Jay, I want to thank you for participating in the culture conversation, man. And man, continue to shine and be great, man. What you're doing is just amazing, dude. And we thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me. This is a good conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Till next time.
Yeah.